Welcome to Abby's Digital Nook, where I talk about all things Kindle, cozy, and bookish. In today's video, we're going to be creating a Kindle lock screen, and I'm going to be using my iPad Pro to do this. I'm also going to be using the app called Procreate. I use this app a lot in my day-to-day life for creating illustrations, animations, and more. So we're going to create a new canvas in the size 1072 by 1448 pixels. And here I'm just expanding it a little bit wider because I like it to go all the way to the edge of the screen. So before I started, I already downloaded images that I wanted. So I'm going into my Photos app. I grabbed everything from Pinterest and I picked a picture of a Louis Vuitton bag because I just really like having a handbag of some sort on my home screen lock screens. One of my goals going into 2025 is to just allow myself to feel luxurious and just feel like I have a luxurious life. And so I'm trying to bring in and manifest luxurious things. So I'm just planting the seed here and there in lots of different places. So since this was cut out from the Apple Photos app, it didn't give a completely clean cut. So I still have to go in and clean up the edges so it's not jaggedy. And I want the final finished image to kind of look like it was illustrated rather than me kind of just like cutting out a photo and plonking it in the middle of the screen. As I mentioned previously, this is an image that I pulled from Pinterest, so it is not in HD or high quality. So I have to kind of work with what I've got and clean up as much as I can. There's definitely a lot of sections that feel like pixelated just because we're dealing with a really low res style image, but it's okay because the Kindle screen is small. So you're not going to see all the details that I'm really zooming into here on the iPad, but I still, for my own personal eye preference, I have to clean it up. So for the background, I want to do a kind of gradient design. So I filled in the background in one color, and then I'm going to do the other half in another color. And then I'm going to use the Gaussian blur feature and just blur it out and blend it out so it feels like it's a natural blend from light to dark. Next, we're going to create a floor shadow in the most ratchet way possible. I literally just duplicated the bag image and then placed it in a way that I felt like was reflecting onto the ground. Once I did that, I moved that layer behind the bag, and then I added a new layer in black, or I filled it in black, and then did a clipping mask into that bag that we did. Then I took that layer and did Gaussian blur again to kind of blur it out and make it feel like it was just a natural shadow and not the bag. So that's my little trick to do reflections in Procreate when you're on a quick time crunch. I'm just readjusting it to make sure it feels like it's sitting under the bag or feels like natural. So now I'm going to recolor the background to more of a grayscale tone. The red obviously won't be seen on the Kindle, but I do everything that I draw in pink or reds just because it's the most eye-catching color and I can see edits and see changes. And then when I'm done, that's when I recolor it to the actual color I want it to be. Again, as I said, on the Kindle, you're not going to see the color, but you are going to see the different tones of the color. And that's what I really like. It kind of displays the image as if it's a black and white newspaper. And so you don't have to make your Kindle covers black and white, or Kindle Screensaver is just black and white. You can have color, but it's not going to display like the absence of tones and definitions. You're still going to see that. So that's why I like creating my own covers and using photos and imagery rather than just using the black and white image that I've seen a lot of on Etsy. Here I'm just adding in some little doodles and whatnot. I don't know if I'm going to keep them. I think I actually removed them at the end. Now here's the fun part. I'm adding in my little text that kind of represents me, and I'm obviously putting my name, and I'm using my brand font to do it. So we're going to have Abigail's Kindle. When it comes to typography, it's always great to pair your main brand font with another font that has a different font style so that it kind of creates a contrast and makes it just look more visually appealing in comparison. So my main brand font I've got for Abigail's, and then for the Kindle I'm going to use a sans serif oblique font with extended tracking. After staring at it for a little while, I realized that it just didn't feel like it was finished. I feel like it just needs some more visual elements to it. It just feels really boring to me. So first thought was, okay, I'm going to change it from Abigail's Kindle to Abigail's Kindle Library. So that's the first step. I added in the library part and then just played around with the placement and the font weight to see if there were any other variations that I also liked. I felt like the Abigail's was just not tight enough, so I wanted to kind of bring it in just a little bit closer and then adjust the Kindle Library to sit underneath the second half of my name. It still felt slightly unfinished, so I decided to add an oval shape surrounding the Kindle Library. So to do this, I created two perfectly straight lines. I put one above and one below. It's definitely moments like these where I prefer to use Adobe Illustrator over Procreate for pretty much any designing, just simply because creating shapes is just a lot easier in comparison. So after making the two lines, I'm making a full circle. That circle is going to sit at the edge of the two lines. I'm just going to scale it down to fit, and then I'm going to cut that circle in half and bring one half of it to the other side, and that creates this kind of oval shaped hub for the Kindle Library. So I'm just going to merge all my shapes together and then move the Kindle Library to the center, or from eyeballing it, since there's no tool to make it perfect center either. I will not continue to slander Procreate because I do use it a lot. So now I want to add an emoji. I'm going to use either the bow or the stars emoji to replace the dot on the eye of Abigail's. I feel like it's a cute added personal touch because I use emojis for a lot. So here I'm just kind of scaling it down and deciding where I want to put it. At first I was thinking I'd put it on the bag, but then I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on the eye and it will be a great replacement for the small circle dot. I went with the bow, and then I just went back to my text layer. I had to rasterize the text so that I could erase the dot. Then the next step is recoloring the bow to the black and white theme that we've got going on. I had to use a light gray because the black just made it almost hard to see, and I want to still be able to see the texture in the emoji and not just be a flat SVG type image. I want it to feel like it has more dimension. It's almost popping out of the page. Color still felt a little bit off to me, so I wanted to just kind of add my own gradient into the emoji. So here's me just adding like 3 different tones from dark to light, and then I'm using Gaussian blur to blend it out, and then I'm going to clipping mask that into the bow and then change how it sits on top of the bow, so it would be an overlay, and that gives it a brighter appearance to how it was, but still keeps that dimension and definition. So next I took my background and expanded it just a little bit more because I felt like the background was a little bit too dark at the bottom and I wanted it to feel more seamless. So next I want to bring in a color behind the Kindle Library just so that it pops out a little bit more. For some reason when I tried to fill in the circle, it would not fill in. I tried looking for gaps in the line in the design and there was no gaps from what I could see, but it was not filling in. So instead I had to just manually draw it. After creating the shape, I filled it in and then brought it to the layer behind the text so that it would sit behind it. And then also my goal for this was not to completely fill in the circle. I wanted it to be slightly offset to feel like it was just kind of sitting a little bit below, and that way it kind of creates a little bit of dimension within that circle area. Although it was not easy because again, I cannot create perfect shapes, so I'm having to just manually draw it, and it's not an easy task. But the idea was for it to kind of feel like it's an inside button, like it's sitting inside of it rather than just completely filled in. So it creates a little bit of a shadow. Okay, so we're done with the final design. Now I'm going to export it as a PDF to my laptop. Once I get it at my laptop, I'm going to bring it into an app called Calibre, and I'm going to convert that to an EPUB. Once it's an EPUB, I can then bring it into my Kindle. The process for bringing it onto your Kindle is the same way that you would bring in any book that is offloaded, like not purchased from the Kindle store or the Amazon bookstore. There you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and took some useful creative tips from me. If you did, please go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you've just found my channel, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video.